The Fujicast is an independent loading zone production.
Wednesday, 6th of May.
The Fujicast.
Welcome to the Fujicast, the daily show that was weekly but is now daily. As we're all in our various lockdowns, although, Kev, the lockdowns seem to be, in some areas at least, just relaxing, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Seems to be going that way. Nice and positive messages generally. I'm not sure really what else they can do, to be honest with you, at this point. And I guess from what I've been reading is this thing called the R number, isn't it?
I've heard about it. For the first time last week, I started reading all about it, and I'd sort of shut myself off from the news for the last couple of weeks in some respects. I'd got news overload. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I did in the beginning, absolutely. No, I just look at the news. I usually look just after the briefing, the government briefing. Yeah. That's typically what I look at. But yeah, the R number, so they need to have that. It has to be sustainably under 1. And I think we're bouncing around between 0.6 and 0.9. But interestingly, dependent on which part of the country you're in. So the more, to be brutal about it, the poorer the area, the higher that number is.
Is that right?
And so typically in places like London and stuff where you have a lot of inner city, not so affluent areas, then it's higher. So they need to keep that really low. And that's the same, obviously, in Italy and France and all those other places. So that's why it's a staged rollout of places, I guess. And, as long as they can keep that down, then they can do contact tracing. That's my understanding of it.
Would you happily have the app, by the way?
Yeah, of course I would. I got really angry, actually, that they had this, the government minister, I can't remember his name, was talking about it. And then it was some human rights group or something. Now, of course, I believe entirely in human rights. But they were like, this is against human rights, privacy, and you're going to be monitoring where people are going, etc. Yeah. And I was like, that's the whole point. Yeah. To stop us dying. We need to know where we're going.
Have you not noticed there's a virus going around?
Yeah, this isn't time to get all lardy-dardy, party.
But no, I agree with it. I would happily have that app. They're trialling it in the Isle of Wight, aren't they?
That made me laugh because they can't get off the Isle of Wight.
Well, I love the Isle of Wight.
Close the ferry.
It's one of my favourite places. Is the Isle of Wight. We go as 3 families go every single October. During half term usually, and it's just become a place we go to. It's been about 4 or 5 years now, and I did wonder. I thought, have they become the ultimate island within an island, where they've none of the island ferries, the White Link ferries work? Maybe.
Brilliant, didn't it? You can imagine. I love Isle of Wight as well. Yeah, nice place.
Right, let's start with the questions. We've got a couple of comments, a couple of questions today. We'll start with a question. Hi guys, one from Adam Ramjean in London here. Thanks for running a daily podcast about photography. One of the things I look forward to every single day while in lockdown. Yada, yada, yada. A quick question from me. I was asked to submit a photo online in 300 DPI. See, we've come out of non-tech Tuesday, or tech-free Tuesday. So here comes a bit of tech straight out the traps. I was asked to submit a photo online in 300 DPI, but I have no idea what this means. I know the resolution of my camera is 6000 by 4000. He's got an X100F, by the way. But how does that translate into DPI if I don't know the inches?
Okay, so firstly, if you are submitting this image for a website, it's to be displayed on the internet on a browser, then the DPI is pretty much irrelevant. Okay, so I would just leave it at 72 DPI, which is the default if you're exporting from something like Lightroom or from the camera, etc., etc. Now, where DPI is relevant is when you're printing. And most album companies or high-end printers will tell you that they need it, usually something like a minimum of 270 DPI. Yeah. I typically go for 300 DPI when I'm sending things off to print. But for the web, not a thing, not needed. It's not necessarily related to the inches or the size of your sensor or anything like that. It's essentially how it's being exported for print. Ultimately, that's all you need to remember. Now, if you go into something like Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever and you do file export, you'll see options in there for DPI. And like I say, 72 DPI is perfect for screen, 300 DPI is perfect for print, unless you're asked to go even higher. But typically 300 DPI print. Magazines will always ask for 300 DPI, and websites 72 DPI. Don't need anything more than that.
When it comes out of the camera, there's 6,000, 4,000 pixels that Adam's talking about. What's the DPI of that image coming out?
I don't know, and it's not really relevant. It's not. It's what you do with the image afterwards. If you were to just give that JPEG straight out of a camera to somebody else, then I don't know. I would imagine that would be at 270. I would have thought. I don't know. Off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really something that's. Honestly, it's something that confuses a lot of people. But it's basically, if you're printing 300, if you're doing it for screen 72, just prepare it in Lightroom.
And it's the same. Funnily enough, you don't have to have such a high DPI ratio or number if you're producing films with stills in them as well. A lot of people think it's got to be 300 DPI, but it doesn't actually. No, it doesn't need to be when it's shoved into a film timeline. Andy Brim. My fellow listeners might want to hear about the prospects of the wedding industry from a wedding planner, Katrina Otter. Have you heard of Katrina Otter?
Name rings a bell.
She's a wedding planner. She took part in a Spectator podcast recently. We'll put the link on the brand new, spanking new website. I'll send you that link, Kev, because you can hear Katrina Otter talking about what she believes is going to be happening with the wedding industry. So I'm gonna put that over there, and I must get that link on the website thing.
Is it good news?
I didn't think there was an awful lot of new news, to be honest. I thought there was a little bit of second guessing going on because I don't know, you don't know. I talk to venues and they don't know, Kev. And if anybody's going to know, you'd have thought the venues might have an inkling. They're keeping their ear as low to the ground as Katrina. But she did have some interesting points, so it did make an interesting show. It's on Spectator, and I'll forward the link, and if you have a mo, you can listen to that. It's about 4 or 5 minutes right at the end of the show. Amanda Fultz. Hi, Neil. Hi, Kev. Got an ego versus money question for you. Stand by for this one. First, I am a part-time pro photographer, full-time business intelligence director.
Business intelligence director.
Oh.
Bid.
What, sorry?
Bid.
What?
Business intelligence director.
Oh, right.
Bid.
I've got in a large American insurance firm. Okay, so while I get paid for my photography work, I don't really rely on the money as primary income, because I would imagine business intelligence directing must be well paid, Amanda. It's essentially paying for my kit and my gadget obsessions. I recently, though, accepted a contract with a dog food treat company to shoot lifestyle photographs for their Instagram campaign. I send them both RAW and JPEG files. JPEG edited, since they don't have a photographer on staff to do the editing. Marketing department for the company has been editing the photos. Oh no, before they post it to Instagram. I use the word editing lightly, since I was told they're slapping an Instagram filter on my edited work and posting. It's terrible, Kev, and I don't mean kind of bad, it's embarrassingly bad. I promise the edited JPEGs are not that overexposed and cold when I send them. It hurts my eyes to look. I've asked them not to edit the JPEGs, but they're doing it anyway. I offer to shoot brighter, but they still pump up the exposure. So my question is, would you continue to shoot for this company?
Yeah, I would. I would just have a word with them.
Well,
just say, look,
I think Amanda has, and they're just. you've got an overzealous marketing guy that's just thinking filter.
Yeah, have another word with them. I mean, it may well be that perhaps he just because when you use Instagram, by default it will tell you to apply a filter. So maybe he thinks he has to.
By default, isn't it on natural? It's on no filter, isn't it? I
don't know. Doesn't it come up at the bottom with a whole load of them?
Well, it does, but you start on natural, and then you gradually pump in something that doesn't look like it's made on this planet.
Well, I would just speak to them again and just say, look, don't do it. Just leave it natural. Here's the images, and just be a little bit firmer with them. And if it's down to the money and you're happy to not have your name to it, then carry on.
Yeah.
If it's if you want to be able to go to on your website and say I'm the official photographer for such and such dog food company, then you need the images at the end of that chain to represent your style. Yeah, that's for sure.
Stop looking at the feed. Take the money. Dear Neil, Kev, no question, just some yada yada. Congratulations on the 100th episode that's just gone. Listening to the Fujicast been part of my week for quite some time now, but it's an important part of the daily routine before starting to work from home. Work. What's that word? WORK. Look that bit up later. Early in the pandemic, I was plugged into the constant COVID newsfeed. Oh, we were talking about this a moment ago, throughout most days. In more recent weeks, I've scaled back my audio connection to the outside world. I now start my morning listening to the Fujicast rather than the news on NPR. Do you know what NPR stands for?
National something radio.
Yeah, National Public Radio. NPR is big, and they make some amazing podcasts as well. So I feel delighted that you've chosen us. The Fujicast makes me feel almost like I'm right there in your conversation, which is particularly nice at this time of social isolation. So thank you very much for letting us be part of your world, including the families passing through to the loo. Yeah, and the other day I thought I'd listened back to the episode. I don't often listen. I listen back when I do the edit, but I don't listen like a listener as such. But I was out for the walk when Gemma walked through the room screaming and shouting the other day, and I thought that was lovely. It's a real part of normality, I thought. Are you? By the way, and that's from Scott Rollins, by the way, who's in Spokane in Washington, home to the Iron Goat Brewing Company.
Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? Iron Goat.
Iron Goat.
Like sound of that.
So it sounds like proper micro. It might not even be microbrew.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Well, sounds good though.
It does sound good. Talking of which, you're on your enforced no booze till Friday rule, aren't you?
Yes, although I failed on Monday.
Oh dear. You'll need it for Friday because I am hosting the quiz this week in the Locked In, by the way.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Do you know what I've got here? A list of. I know you're going to say to me, Neil, we've talked about this, that you should be working on your own projects. But I did get a bit excited. I've got a round called Gitbit, which is based on Git. It's a dog round. I've got one called Make It Snappy, which isn't based on a dog. There's one called Clean Shave, which I can't really explain. There's one called Trumped and the Big Cheese. I've been thinking about it, and that's in the lock. I don't think you have to sort of apply to one of our moderators, don't you, or both of them to be in the Locked In.
Don't know. Yeah, go to the Facebook group and say I want to come into the quiz.
Yeah. Friday.
I was reading something the other day, or Gemma was telling me about something she read, and it really made me laugh about all these Zoom things and everything, and the fact that we're doing a pub quiz every Friday night.
Yeah.
Imagine it was normal times. We would never do anything on a Friday night.
No. Yeah,
and this whole article was like, I don't want to sit in front of Zoom with 20 other people in my, and this person said, I was invited to a fancy dress Zoom party.
Oh no,
fancy dress.
No, I couldn't do that. That's
I can't stand half the people at the best of times. Why the hell would I want to sit in my living room in fancy dress and talk to them down a television screen?
Come dressed as a turkey. No, I wouldn't. No, I think I'd have to draw the line at fancy dress. I noticed, by the way, you left the Locked In when the dancing started.
Yes. Yeah.
And
dancing.
I left shortly after that. I can't do the dancing bit because I just can't dance.
Yeah, we should explain the Locked In, by the way, is a Zoom pub quiz that Steve on the Fujicast moderators organises. Yeah. So if you would like to come along, I'm sure he will let you in, but you would need to get him on.
Yeah, you need to talk to him on Facebook or talk to Peter, who's the other moderator. Right.
Yes, Peter.
Well, one more question, and then we'll do the book, and also we need to uncover who was your favourite in last week's competition in the Daily Photo Challenge. Thomas Hill. I run a tent rental company in LA. Like many companies, we've had the rug pulled out from under us due to the COVID emergency. As I'll be twiddling my thumbs for the foreseeable, it'll be a good time to address a long-held pipe dream I've had of becoming a pro photographer. I think I'm decent enough, Kev. My friends and family love the pictures I take of them and their families. Companies like the few photos I've taken and tagged of their products. And recently Fujifilm even asked to share one of the shots on Instagram. My shortcomings would be a lack of thorough knowledge of lighting and flash, which I generally am not too enthused about anyway. Well, you've come to the right place here. We know all about flash, don't we?
How about new?
Yeah.
I would say stylistically, I am similar to Kevin. I don't know if he means this to be connected with that last sentence, but I would say stylistically, I'm similar to Kevin. There's a huge gap in the market for that style here in Los Angeles. As opposed to weddings, I think I'd focus on BTS, behind the scenes on shoots, corporate product and family work. Question to you both. How did you know you were ready to start charging people money for your photography? Let's deal with when you felt you were ready. Well, you had to, didn't you? Because you'd said, right, I'm becoming a professional photographer. You couldn't mess about not charging, could you?
No, you have to be capable enough to do a relatively good job, but you don't have to be, the worst thing you can possibly do if you're just at the beginning is look at everybody and think, I'm nowhere near that level, in which case I can't charge for it.
No.
Because we all start somewhere.
Really?
It's how long is a piece of string? Because there's a lot of people out there who absolutely shouldn't be charging because they're not good enough, and then there's a lot of people out there who should be charging way more than they should be because they're a lot better than they think they are.
Isn't that the problem?
Isn't
it? You just said the word. Isn't that the problem with an industry that's purely based on subjectivity? Are you good enough to charge? Well, I think I am. Are you good enough? Yeah, I'm good enough. But even though you might not be.
Yeah, I mean, if you take away the,
it's like the art thing, Kev. One person's pile of bricks is another person's $1 million art installation.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And it's, if it was any other way, it would be a commodity-based service, and that's no good, And by that I mean, basically, if you want to pay for a letter to be delivered, you probably, and the service is going to get you there on the same time, you're going to go for the cheapest one. So the subjectivity comes in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And that's where the pricing differences come from.
Yeah, I will say as well.
Sorry.
There's that Git.
Hang on, is somebody at
the door. Go get him, Git. Go get him. Where's the pusscat? Oh, Git, you've been locked out the room. I think we're now on our own, dear listener. Oh, he's coming back. I'm imagining it was a delivery of booze.
It wasn't. It was a delivery of screwdrivers. Believe it or not.
Screwdrivers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Give them to Gemma for a birthday.
You're going to give them to Gemma for a birthday? Oh, God. Kev,
we don't do birthday presents.
You're so... Oh, God, you're so romantic, you two. Oh, right, okay. The only thing I would say on the anxiety thing is, Tom, go in with a beautiful naivety at the start, because that's the way I started. And I look back at some of those early images, I'm thinking, what? Really? You charge for those and you got away with it? But at the time I felt wonderfully naive enough to say, yeah, I can charge some money for this.
The Daily Show Photo Challenge.
Then you shall be okay. Right, Daily Photo Challenge. Last couple of days really of this. It's today and tomorrow. And then we've run out the photo challenges just to make our remarks about. This time last week then, what was it? Oh.
It was the number
1. Oh, was it 3? Did we not have 100 this time last week?
That'll be tomorrow.
We actually had a 3, did we? Okay.
Hang on, did we?
I think you might be right. Yeah, you're right. It was number 3.
Monday, Tuesday, yeah, number 3.
Yeah.
Yes, because 100 was on Thursday. Yes, so number 3. I'm not going mad. Okay, so we had the entries are getting lower and lower as this went on, and we had something like 40 something or other entries, all of which very cool. Many of which I'm convinced were not photographed on the same day, such as Alan Hewitt's 3 leopards.
Does he have some of those in the back garden in his joint? I don't know.
Perhaps he knows the Tiger King. Yeah. There was Nisa Birch's was nice actually. That was a portrait of I think it might even be him. Just the 3 of us. It says. Right. So him, his wife, girlfriend, and a pooch, another pooch. Dogs appearing in a lot of these. Fran Corbett did a beautiful one of her 3 little boys, all fast asleep in bed. Really nice, and she's I don't know, she looks like she's floating in the ceiling to get that picture. There was Chris Marshall, who had a bag of Lego with the number 3 on it. However, there was many of them, cameras of course, all very, very good, but the one that I really liked, although I'm betting it's not a real photograph, was Sven Brandola, who had this lady in a beautiful red dress flying through the air with 3 red balloons. It looks very photoshopped to me. Might not be though. It might just be creative flash. Certainly not taken last Wednesday though.
Do you think general apathy had set in?
I think it probably
general
had.
Apathy reporting for duty, sir.
I know it had for me.
All right. As far as the photo caption competition goes, that'll be on the Facebook group, and every couple of days we put the answer, well, not the answer, much the answer, but our favourite one, we're going to put that on the website. So we'll do that on the Facebook group and the website. And I think after next week, daily photo challenges, I think we'll just go back to being normal, shall we?
It's a bit complicated, isn't it?
It is a bit complicated, But anyway, moving on. Something that isn't complicated is Kev's Mountain of Books You Should Buy When It's Safe to Spend Money Again feature.
Oh,
what have you got this week?
We still haven't got a jingle.
No, I know we haven't. Well, there's room for a jingle now, isn't there, really, now that the Daily Photo Challenge is almost gone?
So today we are going to look at the book by, I guarantee that a vast majority of you will never have heard of him, a gentleman called Angus O'Callaghan.
Angus O'Callaghan?
Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Angus O'Callaghan?
No,
I didn't think so. No, Angus, I think he's probably died. Yes, he is died. Of course he is. Died in 2008 at the age of 91. Australian photographer. And the reason I know he died before I looked it up was that the book was kickstarted by his son, I believe.
Oh, in his memory or something.
And I backed it in 2005, so it was printed just before, or was it 2000, and maybe just after? Anyway, so it was, it couldn't have been 2005, 2015. It's a beautiful, beautiful hardback book in a hard case cover with gold embossed letters on the front, just says Melbourne, and it's amazing. And I don't know, have you ever been to Australia?
Yeah, I've been to
places you may have been to.
Yeah, I've been to Sydney. Love it there.
So now I've looked on the internet to see where you can source this book, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. It's not on Abe Books, which is usually my Bible of places to go and find out pricing. So it is probably a very limited edition run. However, it does have an ISBN number. So if a book has got an ISBN number, it means it was publicly produced. So it should be available in certain places.
And you'll have that on the show notes, won't you?
I will put all of that on the show notes. Yeah, the ISBN and all that kind of stuff. But the point of the book is that it reminds me a lot of Joel Meyerowitz, in that it's observation and the images are, I don't know, I always feel really bad when I say something like this. Some maybe naive people would look at some of the images and think, well, that's a bit out of focus, or the lines don't line, it's not very straight, or, what's the point of that picture? But actually, it goes back to everything I always say, and this is why I buy photo books that are mostly about photos, and that's because of nostalgia. And I'm just looking at, it's another book that doesn't have any page, it does have page numbers. It's one of those books that only has page numbers on every other page. So page 189/90, it's a spread across, and it's beautiful. It's all colours like early 80s, late 70s Melbourne. You've got the guys in their short sleeve shirts and the ladies in their mini skirts and bright colours, yellows and blues and fluorescent colours. And then mixed with that, you've got a load of black and white kind of architectural type images. It goes way back. I don't know when he started this. Some of the pictures I'm looking at now were dated 1968.
Photographs that you take that might be considered snapshots of that time are tomorrow's photo books, aren't they? Of historical moments and historical significance. And that's what you've uncovered with this photographer in this book.
Yeah, look at this one. So this one on page 74 is titled Pedestrians Crossing Flinders Street at Night. You know what? If I took that exact same picture in London, most of us would kind of look at that and think, yeah, it's just busy street, loads of people, nothing of interest going on. Fast forward, so that was taken in 1968. So fast forward 68, 78, 88, 98, 2008, 2018, 52 years, you've got an image that has huge impact.
Yes.
Huge impact.
Yeah. Do you think in years to come, Albie is going to say, I need to get my dad's work out there? And he'll be revealing work you shot 50 years ago, Grandad.
You know what? It's really interesting you say that, because I was thinking about something like this the other day when I was looking through some other books, and I was thinking, I don't have that kind of work. Right? I have lots of weddings and lots of stuff of our family and everything, and they're important. But when you look at something like Angus O'Callaghan's book of Melbourne, there's hundreds and hundreds of pictures in there over 30, 40, 50 years of him shooting. I don't have that mentality to, when I'm out, to just take pictures of pretty much everything all the time. And so, yeah, he can't really. And that's a negative thing for me, not a positive thing. I wish I did it more. I wish I could do it more.
Yeah, does it?
I could go out.
Well, do you know this particular shutdown or lockdown or whatever you want to call it has made me feel like I want to do more of that kind of work. Now, I haven't shot much work at home. We've been pushing around frames over the walls the last couple of days, trying to do different things with it in different rooms. And I said to Sam, we ought to do a lockdown photo, really. And she said, yeah, I suppose we should. We haven't really. I know some people have gone hell for leather in documenting this lockdown. I thought, well, it's kind of been done. What? And I haven't felt inspired to bring the camera out to do it. Because apart from the fact that we've been at home, nothing has really changed for the kids. We've moved
that's it, isn't it?
We moved the sofa around last week and designed the room differently, but
it's weird, isn't it? Because in the first couple of weeks I did take pictures of the kids in the garden and all that kind of stuff. But really, that could be any time of the year and any place. And how do you define a lockdown picture? Maybe there isn't much kind of, I don't know.
Well, I am
really string my boat.
I am inspired I am inspired to get out there and do some more. I was just looking up Angus O'Callaghan's site now, angusocallaghan.com.au, and do you know what strikes me straight away? And I talked about this with you a couple of weeks ago. Shop fronts. Shop fronts and cars, obviously, but shop fronts. There's definitely a dating procedure to shop fronts, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. And they're great, aren't they, shop fronts?
Oh, I love them. I mean, I'm looking at an old arcade here with a chemist and Peter's gloves and hosiery, and that's what dates it for me. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that. It's just nostalgia.
Yeah. And I suppose little subtle things like one of the shots here is talking about the Moon Men. So instantly you're thinking, well, this is obviously a 60s shot. So yeah, terrific. Well, thank you for introducing him to me. I wasn't aware of him before, so thank you.
What's the exchange rate in Australia to what's £10 worth in Australian dollars?
Five kangaroos to a pound, something like that.
No, seriously.
No idea. It changes so much.
Well, roughly, when you went...
Oh, God. The pound was quite strong, actually. It was reasonably strong. I don't remember, Kev.
Okay, well, the reason I'm saying this is because Angus's prints, should you wish to buy one, are on his website for approximately 1,900 Australian US dollars.
Okay, so it's still a bit more than I want to spend this week, but I'm thinking about it for the future.
70 by 70 centimetre print. Whoa, I'd love that, though. That one of the woman walking through the arcade.
So his prints are there. Oh, right. Well, I'm going to go and do my shopping list tonight of things that I really can't afford for a little while. I'm
going to type in 1,900 AUD in GBP is £984.97 today.
Oh, that's right. So it's 7 kangaroos to the pound now.
Yeah, shy of £1,000, basically.
Not bad. Sorry to all our Australian listeners that are currently saying, what, Neil, please don't be that cliche with us. No, not at all. Well, thanks, Kev. Back tomorrow. Do we do anything particularly different on a Thursday? I don't believe we do we? But it'll be just nice to hang out with you again, if only just virtually. Would you put your underpants on next time we talk, though?
I'll try and keep the dogs in a different room.
Yeah, keep the dogs in a different room. See you later, Kev.
Bye-bye.
The Fujicast is an independent loading zone production.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.